Hello, this is Josh, the Systems and Operation Pastor here at the Crossing Worship Center, where we believe in establishing the believer, strengthening the family, and caring for the community. We are so glad you joined us online. Please remember to click subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook so you won't miss out on any future content that will bless your life. If you would like to visit us in person, we would love to have you at 7325 Risotto Beach Road in Southport on Sundays at 10 and Thursday nights at 6:30 p.m. for Warzone. You're about to hear a message from our pastor, Mike McFadder. We truly hope that through this video, the Lord blesses you.
I want to talk to you tonight about not until you learn to swim. You say it's kind of a funny, maybe a funny title, thoughtful title. You see a man on the end of a dock staring out into the abyss of water. Sometimes with God, the water is always proving ground. We talked about Sunday how he sent them into the instability of the storm. The disciples got in the boat and he sent them out. I was doing some personal study. This came out of personal study. It came out of me looking into my life because I know I am called. I remember being called. Before I ever preached a message, taught a class, did any kind of leadership, I felt the calling of God in my life. Had no idea what it meant. Knew nothing about. Nobody said, hey, you better take some public speaking courses. Okay? It just wasn't really in the mix. But now that I know who I am, I must prepare to be successful. Can I say it again? Now that I know who I am, the preparation to be successful is even more necessary. In my personal study, I looked at myself as a leader of people. Kind of like leading sheep. I always felt a little offended when the preacher said that and I was in the pew. I always thought, what does he mean? Sheep are so... I didn't say that. I just got one vocabulary word. Kind of sounds like complain. Not really. But I remember as I'm studying, this is a little personal study about being the leader of people. As a man wanting to continue with God. That's why I bring this message to you. These are the three things that motivated me personally to bring this message to you. Because I need to know more. I know what I know, but I know that I need to know more. I need to know more about how to be successful enough where I am, listen to me, to be considered by God for a promotion for greater things. I need to know how to be successful, more successful at where I am so I can become a candidate for something greater that God has for me. I'm telling you that God is trying to talk to us where you are. Most people are so busy looking at where they want to go or why they want to be that they see no value in where they're standing. I wish I could get the whole church here because there are a lot of people that need to hear this message. I don't care if you're a full-time preacher, if you're a full-time active in the ministry, or you're just getting saved. I want to tell you something, that most people miss out on where they are because they're trying to figure out where they're going or who they want to be rather than seeing the value in where they are. If you can see the value in where you are, you will put an emphasis on it and make sure that whatever God's trying to get out of your position now will be the reason He promotes you tomorrow. If you can't be promoted today and learn, I doubt God's coming to get you for greater things. But it's just me and my knowledge of walking with God for a few years. Today, what I value most in the ministry. August will be saved. I'll be saved 30 years. Ministry, several years. Just recently after that, I got thrust into ministry. And what I value the most in ministry is what I know. It's not in my position. I can give up the position and still be valuable because of what I know. What I know fits the position as a pastor, but it also fits the position as an assistant. It also fits the position as a person that simply wants to obey God. I value what I know the most in the ministry. That's what I value the most, is what I know and how I know to be successful. The ability to know what to do and how to be successful. You say, well, you sure you know? Yeah. Some point in time, you have to be confident in what you know. Because if you're not, someone will talk you out of what you think you know. Matthew chapter 11, I'm going to read 2 verses here. These are powerful verses. We read them so fast. We don't stop and listen to what he said. It's Jesus' powerful words that Jesus spoke. He said, take my yoke upon you and learn of me. If you know anything about a yoke is like having 2 oxes or 2 horses or 2 cows. Most yokes are double. They're not one, like one. It's usually a double. Jesus is saying, come and walk with me and learn of me. There's always a predominant personality in life. It doesn't matter where you are, who you are, whoever you're working with or walking with, you will find out who has a dominant personality. Yes, I do know. Yes, amen. Yes, yes. Now, spiritually speaking, that's important. Please hear me. If God cannot grow you where you are, why should He promote you? If you're not going to do anything where you are, why should God promote you to something else? You need to be good at what you are. You say, well, I'm not anything but an attender. Be the best attender you can be. We were recently standing in the back, and thank all of you for coming to prayer night last Thursday night. Wasn't that wonderful? Sweet spirit in the house. God called. That was an ordained called prayer meeting, and I'm glad you came. But I was standing at the back, and I was speaking to Brother Josh, and he and I were talking, and I told him, I said, I'll watch the door, you go pray. He said, are you sure? I said, oh yes, I enjoy watching the door. I watch the door a lot in my spiritual life. I have been the guy at the door many years in my personal spiritual walk. How are you? Good to see you. Doesn't it feel good to have somebody at the door when you're coming in to open the door and say, we're so glad to have you here. We're so glad you wanted to be here, instead of having to open it yourself and walk in and say, does anybody even care that I'm here? I said, no, let me watch the door. Now look what Jesus said about himself. He said, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, If you will take my yoke upon you and learn of me, you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy. Say easy. How come we're so wore out? Maybe we're trying to lead. And we're trying to drag Jesus where we're going. I don't know. I'm just asking him. He said, my yoke is easy and my burden's light. And I feel like I'm under 1,000-pound weight, don't you? So I want to talk to you tonight about the subject, not until you learn to swim. There was a story about a lifeguard. And this lifeguard, he was at a swim park. And he was on duty in the wave pool area, just a few inches deep, up into 8 foot. A very fit guy makes his way to the deep end and jumps in. You've seen the guy with the abs and the arms? You've seen him? You know what I'm saying? Me 30 years ago. I know you're shocked. However, he makes his way to the deep end, jumps in, and the wave pool begins to thrust its waves. The waves build higher and higher and higher and higher till the fit guy begins screaming, "Help!" The lifeguard jumps down off of his seat, reaches down and grabs him and pulls him up to safety. The fit guy rolls over on the concrete, grasping and gasping for air until he coughs and he finally catches his breath, comes to his senses, thanks the guy, the lifeguard, "Thank you for helping me when I needed help," and asking the question, "Can I get back in the deep end right now?" And the lifeguard said, "Not until you learn to swim." You see, if we don't understand the principles behind what God wants us to learn, we become a hindrance to everything He's doing. Please hear me. This is personal. This is the personal leadership. This is the leadership, leading your life, leading your person, leading a group, leading you at work, leading at home, whatever it is, wherever you're a leader. If you're just a leader of yourself, this is very important. Because if God can't teach you how to swim, He can't ever put you into deeper water. You'll always have to be saved. We'll always have to come after you. I knew a guy in church, and he was his name was Bob, and Bob was a funny guy, and he was a big guy, and but he was just one of them guys in church. He was just a simple-minded guy. And we went to Lake Merrill swimming before it became a subdivision, and we were out there as a church group. And we started putting up tents and enjoying being there, and guess what Bob decided he would do? He was going to swim across Lake Merrill. Yeah, nobody really noticed to start with until the guys put their boats in, and all of a sudden somebody said, "Who's that out there in the middle?" And somebody said, "We don't know, but they're struggling." So they got the boat and they were out there, and it's Bob. And when you knew that you knew it was Bob, it was a little more frustrating. Because Bob knew he couldn't swim across the lake, but he did it anyway. So when we drug him back to shore, somebody said, "Don't do that again, because we're going to have to come after you." Tonight, I want you to know something that God is needing to train us. Proverbs chapter 9, verse 6 through 9. The first thing I want to talk to us about learning how to swim is accountability. Accountability is kind of a word that we don't like to talk about much because it really means obligated to explain. If I'm accountable, it means I'm obligated to explain to you or have it explained to me. Proverbs 9:6 says, forsake foolishness and do what? Live. Man, I wish I'd have knew that at 22 years old. Forsake foolishness and live. 22, 23, 24, 25, everybody gave me a break. When I turned 45, they said, get it together, buddy. Enough of the foolishness. You remember? Forsake foolishness and live, and go in the way of understanding. That means learn from where you've been. Somebody say, learn from where you've been. He who corrects a scoffer gets shame for himself, and he who rebukes a wicked man only harms himself. Means you're going to get it back. You see, if the guy thinks he can swim, he's going to be mad at the lifeguard who says, you can't swim in the deep end. And they look back at him and say, well, who do you think you are? I'm the lifeguard who has to come save you. You see, Jesus says to you and I want to train you, I want to teach you. I want you to be successful in life and in ministry, in your marriages, in your families, with your kids and with your friends. But you have to come to an understanding that you need to be accountable. Now, if you do not correct a scoffer, for he will hate you. A scoffer, somebody who's really kind of not fully committed. He kind of laughs at what we do. But if you rebuke a wise man, he will love you. Did I tell you that my most valuable things in the ministry is what I know? How do you know them? Having to be saved by somebody. Having getting out there on my own, and somebody came and got me. And I said, what happened? How come I didn't make it? You didn't expect the waves to get as big as they were, Mike. And I want to teach you something about learning how to handle the deep end. It's going to get rough, and you need to learn how to swim before you get out over your head again. And so somebody helps teach you from the shallows, and then you get knee deep and waist deep, and then we finally decide we're going to go a little deeper. Accountability is being obligated to explain, to answer to someone for our actions with the intentions of getting better. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be still wiser. Can you handle instruction? When's the last time somebody instructed you? And how did you respond? Ooh, I kind of feeling that in here. We kind of want to believe we're teachable until we have to be taught. You ever been told not to do something? I remember asking somebody to scoot over in a church on a pew, and found out they didn't like to be instructed to just scoot over. This is my pew. I sit here every church service. Don't put anybody on my church pew. And the guy says, okay, I won't. And that same story, they went to the next church event where they were cooking in the kitchen, and guess who was in the kitchen? The same lady who said, don't bring anybody into my kitchen. And after a while, nobody could teach her anything. That's a real story, by the way. Accountability means obligated to explain. Can you explain why you're doing what you're doing? Do you mind explaining it? And can you answer to someone for your actions with the intentions of simply getting better? Church and our messages are more about inspiration than they are expectation. I'm going to say it again. Church and the messages preached today are more about inspiring you than expecting from you. I said, most church preachers, messages, teachers try to inspire you to be something you're not ready to be, rather than expecting something from you from where you are so that you can go where you want to go. Somebody say amen. It's more about inspiring us than expecting from us. However, God expects from you more than He wants you to be inspired. Luke chapter number 13. God has placed expectations in mine in your life of being contributors. He also spoke this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard. He came seeking fruit on it and found none. Now, these are the words of Jesus, and he's given a parable. Then he said to the keeper of the vineyard, look, for 3 years I have come seeking fruit on this fig tree, and I hadn't found any. 3 years. I expected it to produce. I walked up to it. I looked for it, and I couldn't find what I was expecting. I'm going to show you some principles in this in just a second. Said to the fig tree, and I found none. The guy said, well, cut it down. So why does it use up the ground? Sister Barbara, I came to your house looking at your fruit trees. Wow, amazing. Are they still loaded? Every one of mine fell off. I have 0. 0. Boop, goose egg. Started out with about 40 new blooms. What happened? Told my wife, I said, next year, I'm going to get a chainsaw. Yeah. Got 1 more year. For why cumbereth the ground? I'm not staring at that orange tree, for that satsuma tree, just to enjoy the green leaves, Mr. Satsuma tree. I go out into mine, she's got great blooms and fruit. I go to mine, nothing. I'm not kidding. Maybe I killed it, but I'm either going to dig it up or figure it out, one way or the other. But he answered and said to him, sir, let it alone this year. Listen to this. Also until I dig around it and fertilize it. If it bears fruit, well. If not after that, you can cut it down. He came expecting fruit. Number 1, God gives us time to get the understanding you need. God will not always allow you to sit in a church like this and just try to say, I want to go to heaven. Figure it out, then God's coming to expect. God will give you some time to learn how to grow, then He's coming. Did I tell you He's going to come inspect your life? He's going to say, well, I don't really know. I don't understand everything. A couple years, God's going to do all that. He said in there, He said He's going to give them time to understand. Many people never get the moment. They never understand that what God's got for you may be difficult where you are, but the purpose behind the waiting. There's purpose behind God waiting. He is trying to teach you something where you are. Did I tell you Sunday, if He's in the boat, He will eventually explain to you why you are in the storm? But we never get the moment. It's frustrating at times being around people, they never understand the moment. They don't get what they need, so they stand there year after year after year, never understanding that God had them where they are to learn something. Number 2, He allows for the lack of good input, instruction, and investment. Whew, wow. Brother Terry, mouthful. God spoke into my heart. The man said, give it a year. It has never been fertilized. It's never been dug around. Most people in churches today have never had anybody accountable in their life. They never had anybody expecting them, and if you didn't come, they said, where were you? They've never had anybody that said, hey, what are you doing? How come this is going on? Out of respect and love, most people reject any kind of accountability. But I'm telling you, most of the lack of what's going on in people's lives is they've never had anybody to dig around their root system, be accountable for your attitude, your actions, your behavior. I'm going to walk this way for this one, and your body language. Yeah, I get body language. I wish I didn't, but I get it. Anybody else, you read body language? Woo. Yeah. You see, number 2, he allows for good input. You see, if God can put you where you can be instructed, where somebody can invest in your life, but do you have a teachable spirit? Just asking. You don't have to answer for yourself. I'm talking about how come I want to be a better success story. I want God to want to promote me. I want to be the best at what I'm doing. I want to be teachable. Even in this position as a pastor, I want to learn. I have people in my life that I'm accountable to. I don't know if I'm doing it right all the time or not until somebody with an all-seeing eye sometimes that knows more than I can, that can say into my life, you might want to work on that. Teachable spirit. Early, within the first year of my salvation, sitting on the front row. Pastor in my life bumped me on the foot and said to me these words, I've never forgotten them. He said, God's going to use you. You want to know why? I would love to know. He said, because you have a teachable spirit. You don't get mad every time somebody says, at the time, does anybody know what coaching shorts are? Does anybody? Coaching shorts in the 80s were a little too high. So I wore some coaching shorts to the church to cut the grass. You know, back then, working out, buff arms, guy rolled the sleeves up, wasn't for cigarettes. You know what I'm saying? Cut grass flexed. Somebody had to say, you're cutting the grass at the church. Might want to run home, put on some jeans. I just remember the mission. 30 years later, I kind of feel that. So I go home, and guess who's there? What's her face? 30-year marriage. She's like, what are you doing here? I said, I got to put on some jeans. My shorts are too short. Did they say that to you? I said, yeah. Back to the church. Ain't gonna tell me how to cut the grass. I don't want nobody looking at me. It's just because you ain't got no legs to look at. That's why you doing whatever. It's all right if you grumble a little bit. Just do it to yourself. But just cut the grass. Just make sure you got ability to be taught a little something. Just know that somebody's not trying to just be ugly to you. Maybe they're trying to help you understand that you are a part of something bigger than you are. Did I tell you? My most valuable things are what I know, what I learned, what I was taught. Because why? Because the lack of input, the lack of instruction, the lack of investment will shock you at what people will believe. Can you be accountable? Or does everybody have to listen, correction and criticism. Are you ready? Are you listening? Y'all got your ears on. This is good stuff. Correction and instruction feel the same way. I've been criticized before. I didn't like it. But I knew the difference in criticism and correction. I said I had to learn the difference, and the feeling was the same. But my following actions were different. If you can be taught, one day God will get you off of the end of that dock if you'll learn how to swim. But if you can't be corrected, if you can't be told, if you can't be taught that dog paddling is not really swimming, I thought I was doing good. How come you telling me I don't know how to swim? Man, these 10 people can swim backwards across this lake. Here you are out here, 45 years old, dog paddling. These folks that know how to do the butterfly. Whoosh, whoosh. All we know is dog paddle. Because where I come from, that's all anybody does. And we don't even know that there's somebody that can swim underwater. Somebody said, if you hold your breath, you can swim underwater. I said, can you be taught, or you're going to always have to stand on the dock? I said, this message came out of God pushing me. Do you want more, preacher? Because if you want more, I got to teach you more. Which means you got to be teachable. Even after 30 plus years of walking with me, I still got something I want to talk to you about. Can I dig around your life? Can I instruct you? Can I invest in you? I'm not a novice anymore. I want and need, listen to me, strong meat. Because God is expecting more out of me. Hebrews chapter 5. Strong meat. For everyone who partakes only of milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. If you're still sucking on that bottle, still got to be kind of pacified at the church. You know, we talk a lot about church hurt. But sometimes we're a little too sensitive. I'm not talking about somebody being ugly to you, but there's some ugly people in churches, and there'll probably end up being some here. We don't have any of them now. Honest to God, it's a wonderful church, not having any division. But somewhere, somebody's going to get an attitude, and you're going to read body language, and you're going to have to hope and pray that you're full, and some now. But solid food belongs to those who are of a full age. That is, those who by reason of use have had their senses exercised. Took the pulpit and used a slang word. They use them all now. I don't like that word that starts with an S that is really about how babies take a bottle. You know which word I'm talking about? I know some great, quote, great preachers that use that word from the pulpit. That is so shallow to me. Yeah, but you big name preacher, you are shallow as a mud puddle, and somebody needs to look you in the eye and say, that's not an appropriate word, Mr. Pastor. But you know what? Most people at that position with the reputation of being successful already can never hear anything like that. But I'm here to tell you, I don't listen to them. Not because I don't think the message is great, but because I don't think that they can hear themselves. I said, it don't matter who you are or where you are. I want to know if you can be taught. I'm a full age. Well, then let me give you something to exercise your senses. But it's going to take accountability. Let me move quickly. We need to be challenged. Our attitude towards people in authority, our behavior and body language, as I mentioned just a few seconds ago. Accountability. Are you listening, leader? Are you listening? You that desire more. Accountability has to come from your request. You have to ask somebody to keep you accountable. I'm not asking to be that person, but I'm probably telling you that if you don't let me in your life, I probably never will say much. Now, the leadership of this church knows when you move into leadership, I tell them, I say, that's the okay for me to get in. Okay, I won't bother you in the seats. You can go on vacation, don't come to church, whatever you want to do, I won't bother you. But if you're in leadership, I have expectations, as the Father says, for you to do your job and be where you're supposed to be and have a smile on your face and let people know that you're glad to be doing what you want. Because if not, you have to be accountable. But you have to have people that you trust in your life. Do you have anybody that you can trust spiritually? That you could ask and say, hey, I need you to help me be accountable. Because I don't want to be left out of promotion. The accountability has to come from you. You have to have people around you that you respect, and I suggest that the person you're asking to be accountable to is not on the same level as you are, and certainly not less spiritual than you. Never take accountability from those less spiritual. Always ask someone who has been through and done something. Two things I'll leave you with. Number one, if you're going to be successful, and I'm like I said, I'm talking to every leader, potential leader, talented person, intellectual person, people with great abilities. You ready? Relationships are a priority. If I don't like you, I'm not following you. I need another amen from somebody. See, a lot of people today in ministry think that they can get by with their talent, their intellect, and their ability. They don't really know that you and I in the seats don't really like them. Listen to me. We follow them because we have to, not because we like them. You know anybody like that? I tell the leadership here, so if you're going to go any further in God, work on relationships. Put a smile on your face. How are you doing? Good to have you. Put some personality into it. I'm just telling you. The 3 churches that I've pastored, I have gotten a phone call from somebody that I had interchange with when I was in a lesser position. Called and said, would you come pastor me? Because I appreciated you when you were teaching me. I appreciated your smile when you were at the door, opening the door. I appreciated the way you treated me when you were a nobody. Before you ever walked up here, I'm telling you, if you don't work on on relationships and your personality in the midst of this thing, if you're not likable, your talent, intellect, and ability is not going to take you as far as you want to go. You gotta be likable. Okay? How do I do that? Spend time with the people you're around. Don't just require of them. Spend some time with them. Take time to encourage them. Be a good friend. It is a priority of mine. There's some of you I only see here. Others I see all the time. I tell them all the time, I am the best friend you got. Ask them. I tell them all the time, you may have some great friends. I'm the best. Well, how do you know you're the best? Because I'm going to treat you like I want to be treated. I promise you, if you and I are going to be friends, I'm going to treat you like I want to be treated. My friends here say amen. I'm just here to tell you. Now, I work on that because I know that I want people around me that can trust who I am, because my friendship sometimes has to be at risk. I said, if I'm going to be the real friend to you, I've got to risk the friendship to be your accountable partner. Number 2, respect others. Proverbs 17:17. A friend loves when they're feeling good. A friend loves when they're on the top of the mountain. No. A friend loves at all times. A friend. I said a friend loves you all the time. You just figure out if they're your friend or not based on that statement. 1 Peter 4:8. And above all things, have fervent love one for another, for love will cover a multitude of sins. Love is blind to your failures most of the time. Come on. I said, if I love you, most of the time, I am willing to forget what you did. Honest to goodness, I'd rather clean it up and let's go on with a good friendship than to be mad at each other all the time. Why? Because love says I can cover that. Love says to cover one another's sins. Good friend loves at all times, and love covers up sin. Respect others. Recently, I had someone in my life that actually chose me to share position with them. I want to tell you something about ministry. We don't usually choose people talented. You find most preachers will find somebody less ability than they are to put in a position around them. That's just ministry. You don't have to know what I'm talking about. I'm just here to tell you that that's the way we do it. The guys around me, I want them to be better than me. I want them to succeed. I want you guys to give them standing ovation. I tell them, work on your craft, baby. Do what you got to do. Get better at what you do. Because I want you to be successful. Because I respect you. And it was the most warm feeling to be chosen. For somebody to say, hey, would you come and be a part of what we're doing? It gave me this feeling, brother, of value. I actually felt wanted. Isn't that a wonderful feeling? You ever been to a place where you had to just pick you? I was so athletic, I was always the first picked. No, I'm just, you know. You ever been the guy waiting? Me. And they go everywhere but you. You ever been that guy? And then the last one picked, they go, okay, I'll take her. Isn't that a warm feeling? Don't you really want to play then? Isn't that a wonderful feeling after a while? Hey, you ever got this phone call? Look, I've tried a couple other people to go to lunch with me and they couldn't go. Would you mind going? You ever been that? Come on, somebody. I know what I'm talking about. Have you ever said, look, I tried to find somebody else to go with me, but so would you go? How's that feel? Not very respectful and pretty negative. To be chosen because of relationship means more to people than you can imagine. Listen to me. Great leaders use forgetfulness as a tool to help those be successful around them. Let me say it again. Great leaders use forgetfulness as a tool to help others be successful around them. That means a good leader won't remind you every time they see you of how you did bad. They're trying to forget it so you can forget it and we can go on to greater things. If you have opportunity to use relationship to influence those around you, do so. Do so. Use your relationships and bless people and love people because you're in a place where you can. It's like the soldier willing to take a bullet for his platoon. That kind of a leader, by example, finds others willing to die for him. He refuses to be a member of others where they are at fault, and forgiveness rather than remembrance. I said forgiveness rather than being remembrance. You can hold people in place because they fear you, or you can hold people in place because they love you and they respect you because you don't remind them of their failures all the time. But you have chosen to love them and forget their failures, and I promise you, they will take a bullet for you. Ecclesiastes 4:9, I close. Sorry for going a little extra time tonight. Ecclesiastes 4:9. Two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. Do you know I can get better out of life if you're with me? Josh, you take the men's bathroom, I'm going to take the ladies' bathroom. Cleaning. Ministry 101 here, cleaning. I said Ministry 101, scrub brushes and toilets. Yeah. And after a while, somebody comes along and says, hey, let me take that women's bathroom for you. Hallelujah. Brother, I just love you. I just want you to know that you want to go out to eat. You get to your wife and you say, I want to stop and buy so-and-so a card. And do you know, what's that one that's got 3 restaurants on it? Let's get a $25 gift card and put it in that card because that joker helped me scrub toilets. Come on, somebody. I said, 2's better than 1 because if you fall, 1 will lift you up. It is a companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. I know people tonight, they have no one to help them up. My last statement, always leave room for others. Remember, there's safety in numbers. Always leave room for others in your clique. I can tell you, it's been something my whole ministry was youth pastor, associate, or pastor. Somebody will say, that church got cliques in it. I said, well, it may have a clique. Come be with us. I promise you, if you walk in the crossing, somebody's going to love on you before long. Somebody's going to say, hey, I'm glad you're here. Appreciate you. We love you. Make you feel like $1 million. I don't care. I know some people love differently. You don't have to act like me. Just be real in your love.
Once again, we'd love for you to join us in person for our live services on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and Thursday nights for Warzone at 6:30 p.m. Don't forget to click subscribe and follow us on Facebook.